Hey everyone. Excuse the noise because there's someone working on the roof of this house out there. Um, what I was saying about the bigger picture of 2016 and this whole decade is that I figured something out about the Saturn Neptune square and something about squares and oppositions in general. Do you remember what I said about the grain of positivity in the center of a square or an opposition, a hard aspect? That's really what it boils down to. Because when you have an extended square, an extended opposition, a hard astrology aspect, you you have to come to a point of resolution. Just like the process by which you overcome a problem aside from astrology in life, you could say that they're intertwined, you know? The way you overcome a problem in life is you transmute the problem and maybe the pain from the problem into a solution or desire to make it better, you know? So in this square, just like the Uranus Pluto square, the Uranus Pluto square, as was majorly emphasized by that Mercury retrograde in January, the Uranus Pluto square, which is still in full effect, of course, I think that's about a purging out of the ways of our ideology, our ways of thinking, our ways of believing in not spirituality type beliefs, but ideology type beliefs, science type beliefs. That's the difference between Uranus and Neptune, Aquarius, Uranus, and Pisces, Neptune. These are the realms of, these kind of outer realms of ideology, ideological ego. That's Uranus. The science you believe in, the ideologies you subscribe to, and then a level beyond that is Neptune, spirituality, religion, you could say. So the Uranus Pluto square purged out and just exploded our sense of ideology and made a lot of people question things they've never had a reason to question before. To have a reason to question the world, you need some kind of wake up call. You need some kind of purging. You need some kind of bursting out of your preconceived ideas. You know, that's the only force that I've ever known to be capable of snapping you out of your ways to grow and learn. People, one thing I've learned in life is that people just don't grow unless they have some kind of reason to grow. You know, we come up from thousands of years of human beings, from what we understand at least, having to do a lot more to survive than what we have to do now. And the consequence of us not exercising every day, not doing these things that humans have done for hundreds, thousands of years up until this point, it's just a shock to our biology and our cells, you know? So I feel like the Uranus Pluto square, it's a once every 84-year dose of, you see, Pluto is this purging thing. Pluto will wake you up. Pluto is associated with psychedelics, and psychedelics are one of the only other things that I know that has the power to just snap you out of something, just make you see something in a totally different light. Just bam, you know? It's like that. So that's what the Uranus-Pluto square has been doing to our node of ideology. What does the Saturn-Neptune square do? On the first, before the Saturn-Neptune square really started to kick in, I was making videos about how it would kick in majorly on November 25th, the day that the full moon aligned with Saturn to square Neptune. See, the sun in Sagittarius, the sun and Mercury came to conjoin Saturn and they both squared Neptune in Pisces, and the full moon was opposite Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Sagittarius, the full moon in Gemini, and squared Neptune. And I saw this a few months before it happened, and I was like, this is a really clear indication that this is going to be the time that it bursts into effect, because this coincided with the first peak of Saturn square Neptune. The first exact peak happened to have a full moon right on Saturn square Neptune. So that's a real clear indication to any astrologer that it was going to burst into happening, you know? So, being the psychonaut that I am, I took a fat dose of LSD on the day of the full moon, and I had this moment where I stared at the full moon outside, trying to enjoy nature. I stared at this full moon that was opposite Mercury and Saturn, squaring Neptune. And something clicked with me that I've never had click in my life. I started to appreciate nature in a way that I've only been trying to break myself into an appreciation for before. But you know, this system that I was raised in, I think there are a lot of compounding factors in this system that make it purposefully difficult for you to go out and appreciate nature. Our attention spans aren't right. It's not right. My attention span has needed treatment to be able to appreciate nature. You know how that is. You know how it is. I think it's our health. I think it's the way we were raised in public school. I think maybe it's the vaccines. I don't know. But all these factors compounded to make us need treatment, psychedelic treatment, entheogenic treatment, exercise treatment, to be able to appreciate nature, to be able to appreciate things, to be able to have these things that are secondhand to other humans and other cultures that we don't know about. And in some cultures, surely it's worse than this one, but you know. Anyway, I think the Saturn-Neptune square, it really forced it, the first day of it with me, from the beginning. It's compelled me to exercise more. It's compelled me to get this spiritual discipline. And that's what I discovered it's about. A spiritual discipline. What happens when Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, hits this note of spirituality, Neptune, in its own sign of spirituality, the deepest depths of Neptune they can get to? What happens when these waves of far out spiritual Neptune crash into this brick wall of structured, disciplined Saturn, and then throughout months of an extended Saturn square Neptune, just grinding us, dissolving our solid structures, having a brick wall discipline hit our spiritual node, all this stuff? What happens when it just stays stuck and it just keeps going? We end up with this refined, sandpapered down, spiritual discipline. That's what it's about. We end up with this positive spiritual discipline, this positive divine willpower to better ourselves. And right now, with Ceres conjunct Neptune, we're having that be emphasized in a way that, well, I think it's just clicking. And with the Sun moving to conjoin Neptune right now, we're just being herded into the deep, beautiful depths of this Neptune and Pisces spirituality. And Neptune and Pisces is a spiritual node that runs deeper than any Neptune in 160 years. So, a process of disciplined spiritual self-betterment. Ceres conjunct Neptune is emphasizing the health aspects of this disciplined Saturn process of spiritual self-betterment, Neptune and Pisces. Saturn square Neptune, it's about a spiritual discipline. I'm so happy I came to this conclusion, you know. I feel it so deeply. This really makes me happy. I'm so grateful for the fact that I can say these things and you can appreciate it. You know, sometimes I really doubt that people appreciate these things that I'm saying, and I don't feel like sharing my videos, you know. I just don't share them on my Facebook page. I don't know who cares, but, you know, I'm really happy that y'all care. I will be making more videos discussing more about what I think this stuff means and why I think it matters to break it down in terms of astrology and why I think it's healthy and positive to look at it in this way. And as Ceres conjunct Neptune square Saturn teaches us these lessons about spiritual discipline, self-betterment when it comes to health, as the Sun moves to conjoin Neptune and plunge us into a week of spiritual self-betterment, I'll be making videos. Much love. Peace.